Yeah, so I think it's a good use case example maybe to show a flow of what a typical project works with, although none of them are particularly typical. But we have worked with a lot of companies, especially in CPG, where the end-to-end new product development capability is a huge part of the business, and it's also a very complex part of the business. So we've been actually building AI capabilities that will run that entire process really end-to-end with the existing new product development team. And that could be an innovation team, it could be an R&D team. Oftentimes it's sometimes sales and marketing teams that are running the go-to-market portion of this process. It's generally a collaborative kind of inter-team capability, but it can start with innovation or transformation usually. But we are essentially using AI to start with a signal and different sets of signals. So we'll take internal data, we'll take external data out there in the world. We'll take third-party data, meaning data that one of these companies is already purchasing or has purchased or has a license agreement from one of their vendors. We take all of that, and then we'll use essentially AI systems to generate opportunity spaces from those, well, generate insights from those, then turn those insights into opportunity spaces, and then start to really ideate and concept and think about what could new products look like? What could new services look like? What could new business models look like, for example? And then take those and then rigorously test them. Again, through simulation, through really rigorous synthetic testing, and we'll use that agentic reasoning approach that I mentioned earlier to figure out, okay, does this meet desirability requirements? Does this meet feasibility requirements? Does this meet viability requirements? And doing that end to end, you can get from a set of just raw data that's out there in the world to a really refined final concept. It could be for a new product. It could be an adjustment on an existing product. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just new product development or innovation. It can be your existing portfolio, but you can get from that signal to launch really, really fast. And it's just been very empowering, I think, for a lot of the teams that we've been working with to be able to take a process that typically would have taken them a lot of manual work over 6, 8 months and be able to get to really validated new product development much, much faster. And then what we see for those roles is that they're actually able to spend a lot more time now prototyping it and making it real and testing it with real people instead of spending so much time on the funnel process where a lot of the ideas ultimately I'm invested in ideas that are not ready to go to market. Depending on what the process looks like, it's very different for different folks. So we design it, we build it in a different way for each of the teams we work with. We have some teams that really will lean into functionality like forecasting or opportunity sizing. We have other teams that are more interested in functionality like turning those concepts into factory ready production specs. So just for context, it can live and express in different ways, but I'd say end to end, it comes down to just a couple of days, substantial change.
You mentioned synthetic consumers and customers. What does that mean?
So essentially what we're doing is that we are replicating the behaviors, the intrinsic motivations, especially of traditional consumers. So we are trying to get them as close as possible to a set of sometimes personas, sometimes archetypes that oftentimes companies may have to start with. They may have really rigorous persona data. They may have incomplete persona data, which we're enriching with AI. But essentially what we're trying to do is we're mirroring real human behaviors as closely as we can. So it's the behaviors and it's the intrinsic motivators as well that are behind those behaviors.
What do you say to people who push back and say, but these aren't real?
I think that's very correct. It absolutely is not real. And one of the first things that we always say is that the outcome of this is to get as close as we can to winning ready services and concepts. Ideas that will perform really well in market and get you as close as possible. There's always a human in the loop, and there will always be a human making the decisions throughout this process and saying, okay, this is what we want to explore further. This is what we might put into physical prototyping. And a lot of the time, our clients will say, okay, great. We've got 3 winning concepts here. Let's put this in the hands of real consumers, which is important. We actually have one client that hasn't done that and quite literally ships these concepts straight to factories and tests them in market from the get-go. So it's going straight to a factory. It's then getting deployed straight to 3 or 4 stores. It's a retail client, and they'll get a sense in those stores of how the product is performing with real actual purchase data. Have people bought this or not? If they have, then this is a good signal for us to expand this to other stores. But that's an exception. For everyone else, it does end up in the hands of real consumers. And for now, I would advise that continues. So the goal is not to replace consumers entirely. The goal is how can we get to winning innovation.